Welcome to episode 12 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football and make the replacement refs look like pros. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co-host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
RELAX. Relax. Aaron Rodgers is going to win the next 5 games.
How many years is he going to have to keep saying that? So we are live right here on YouTube each and every week at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, right after Monday Night Football. If you're tired of the punditry or just want a fresh voice, come listen to a couple random dudes talk about football and have a good time. This week we've got a recap of this week's games, lots of awesome discussions, including some stuff from some wacky ESPN staff writers, and as always, to end out our show, predictions. So there's a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and dive right in to our weekly recap. So this week, our game of the week, which we had to decide off air because we did not have a show last week. We decided off air that our game of the week this week would be Seahawks at Panthers. Man, this was actually a really, really good game. Like, there's a lot of really fun plays and fun moments. It was a very close game the whole way through. Great game of the week material. Obviously, the results were devastating for their impact on playoff implications if you're not a Seattle fan. Which, I don't know. If you're a Seattle fan, shout out in chat. I'm not sure you would be attracted to this show, but if you are, welcome. All are welcome. So you and I were both talking about this earlier this week, but kind of our gut reaction to this game was Seattle's defense is much better than we expected it to be this year. They tackled really well. They're really forceful with the ball. Carolina actually had 5 fumbles. Now, not all of those were because Seattle was, scratching and clawing and punching, but the fact that they only lost 1 fumble was pretty lucky. Like, McCaffrey had 3 fumbles. So they just played really well. I think they've got the right combo of veteran players with the new guys on their team, and they just seem to have a good secret sauce there. But at the end of the day, I honestly feel like Carolina had no business losing this game. They really should have scored touchdowns on both of those first 2 drives. I'm not sure. Do you agree with their decision to go for it on 4th down on that first drive?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would have just gotten the sure points there, especially when you're playing a team like Seattle where it's very possible points are going to be hard to come by.
Was that the one where they're like at the 6-yard line? Am I thinking, because I know there's one the Dolphins. Am I thinking of the right game?
There was a game they were I think they were at like the 6, but they had a chance to get a first down without actually getting in the end zone, and they just it was at like the 1 or 2 yard line, and they barely missed it.
I think I remember seeing that.
So they turned the ball over at like the 2.
What was crazy? Oh, sorry, you mentioned McCaffrey.
Yeah, he had an insane game. He was so. Let me read his stats real quick. He was 17 for 125 rushing, 17 for 125 with a touchdown, and then in receiving, he was 11 for 112 with 1 touchdown.
And he caught every pass thrown to him. And what I was going to say is for fumbles, before this, he only had 1 fumble in the entire season. He's been a great ball handler the whole time with great control. But I know he didn't lose any today, but yeah, today was odd for him to have 3 since he only had 1 the previous 10 games combined.
Yeah, it was weird to see that. Did you see that really crazy play where Chris Carson flipped and then he landed on his hand and
dude, someone's gonna get injured, man. I mean, because to me that wasn't even a play that really warranted the hurdle. Like, the guy wasn't like really down low, and the second he saw Carson jump, he lifted up his hands and head and flipped him. So someone's gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
and Carson isn't like, he's athletic, but he does not have hops. He's a bigger guy.
Yeah, he is a big guy. I noticed that his knee touched the ground. His knee actually touched the ground, but nobody pointed it out. Yeah.
They were so shocked, probably.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, that was a crazy, like, really athletic play and not to be expected from him. He's so, speaking of Chris Carson, he is playing really well this year. And I know Seattle's been having a really hard time finding a run game these last few seasons. They seem to have found it in him. So I know that's one of the reasons that they're playing better on offense. But man, he'll have games where he'll rush for 6-7 yards a carry. He's sort of like the Matt Breida of the bigger running backs right now. So I don't know, man. Seattle's just seems to be kind of getting better and better each week, which is bleh, but
no, yeah, we talked about it.
What can you say
to our fans out there? Unfortunately, unless Aaron Rodgers can win the next 5 games in a row, which actually is possible. I looked at their schedule, and besides the at Bears game, the other games aren't that bad. But regardless, the Seahawks, that assumes the Seahawks only win 9, and the Seahawks actually have a good chance of winning 10. So this pretty much didn't seal it, but
this pretty much guaranteed a wild card for Seattle, pretty much.
It's close. Yeah, it really did, because they're going to at least win 9. So outside of the Vikings and the Packers, like going undefeated the rest of the season, then they're going to have the edge, because now they have the tiebreak against Panthers. The Redskins are going to slowly fall apart. We'll get to the crazy injury later. And I think they were starting to go downhill anyways, because they were 6-2 and then started going downhill. And then the Cowboys, well, they're just going to take the division then. So really, it's just Redskins and Seahawks, and the Seahawks are going to win that. So the Seahawks will probably go 10-6, and their run game and defense is really picking up. And though Russell Wilson, he was good, but I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but he made a lot of smart plays yesterday. Like, he was more consistent than he usually is. Like, he was good, and he was accurate with his throws. Dude, him and Lockett. So I don't know if you saw that stat. Him and Lockett have the highest combined passer rating, like from him throwing to Lockett, in the entire league. Seriously? Yeah, it's like when they showed the stats. So this was before the crazy throw at the end, which I'm going to rant about here pretty soon. So this was only halfway through the game, and they showed a stat that the passer rating that Wilson has from throwing to Lockett is 117, which went up as the game went on because he just threw to him more. So yeah, that's disgusting. I don't know who the other people were because it flashed by really fast, but yeah, I'll just get to that rant right now and we can move on.
Yeah, go for it. I want to hear this because it has to do with poor cornerback play. Where have we heard that?
I know Jeremy knows all about it, which we'll get to when we get to the Niners. But guys and gals listening, this Jeremy knows that if I was coaching in the NFL, things would get done, and it would start with me cutting half of the players because these plays. These failures are
irrespective of who they would be replaced with, right? Yeah. Just you cut them.
This is just unacceptable. His last is number 35, Elder, for the Panthers. Panthers are up 27-20 in the fourth quarter. Seahawks are going down to drive. They're on the 40-ish yard line of the Panthers, and Russell Wilson just throws a long pass, perfectly accurate. Lockett is looking for the ball. He's literally has his head in the air, angled towards the ball. He's looking for the ball for almost 20 yards. Okay, 20 yards. That's 60 feet. That's a lot of steps. And the cornerback is just running with him. His head is looking. When they do the replay, you see Elder.
I'm imagining this. I'm imagining the actual play in my head as you're describing this.
Yeah. Elder is running with him. His helmet is looking right at Lockett's helmet. Clearly his eyes, and if you're taught this, you're looking at their eyes and their face and their reaction. He can clearly see Lockett's eyes looking up for the ball, going towards the end zone, want to tie the game. And the ball just comes to him. Lockett doesn't even put his hands up. The ball just falls in his chest area for a perfect catch. And Elder never did anything. He didn't even pass interfere the guy. He did nothing. He never put his hands up, never did anything to break up the play. I don't even know what he was doing. So that
he sort of put out this half half-hearted attempt of like cat scratching him
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
like
at the end,
yeah,
but that
it's
was
like
it.
until they get the ball, it's like it wasn't even a real try. It's like
Yeah.
someone steals your candy from you and you don't really care, so you just give like a 30% effort to maybe get it back, but it's a candy that you don't want, so you don't care anymore. It's like, game tying touchdown, knocked us out of the playoffs. Who cares?
Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. And the reason that hit home for me is because that that kind of play with the Niners secondary happens 3 to 4 plus times
A
every game.
quarter.
Like it's so bad that these guys. No wonder we have. I think is it we have one interception this entire year, and it's because
Ooh.
the guys can't. They
Really?
they can barely yeah, they can barely even get like keep up with the receiver, let alone look behind them, let alone contest the ball and actually catch it. So it's a bad situation, but we're talking about Seattle and Carolina, and that was a bad play and one of the reasons why Carolina lost. And of course that missed field goal at the end of the game, which I think it was like a 50-yarder, wasn't it? I want to say it was like a high 40s.
Um.
I want to say they kicked it from about like the 32.
That was a 46 miss.
Was it a 46? Okay, so
it was either a 46 or a 52. It was one of those.
Okay, I mean either way though, like a missed 46 is not. I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum over that, but you should hit that, especially in that situation.
I'll look it up though. I actually think it was a miss 52, to be honest.
Okay, if it's a 52, I don't. Like I said, anything over 50 that's missed, I don't. Obviously you're going to be upset in the situation, but I don't blame a kicker for missing a 50-yarder every once in a while. It's okay.
Well, that and the fact that they didn't have good time possession of control to even give Seahawks that much time to play at the end to win, and also their defense to even allow the Seahawks to do certain plays is the real problem.
Yeah, the clock management was definitely an issue.
So I don't blame Gano because he won them. We'll just call that a scratch with that insane game. He won them with the 63-yarder early on. So
yeah, that's true. It washes out. So while you're looking that up, we're going to move on to the Niners-Dolphins. So we're going to start with the Dolphins. So this has not been the first week where I have sat watching this game thinking, what in the world is going on? Miami has this way, and I don't know if it's always been this way because this is the first year I've really spent any significant amount of time watching them. Miami has this way of making ridiculous things happen in games and have you just sit there sort of enjoying it, even though they're not a very great football team. I don't know what it is exactly. But it was a kind of a fun but a messy game at the same time. My favorite moments were the back-to-back interceptions by Xavier Howard. That was awesome.
Well, no, it was back-to-back-to-back turnovers though.
It was back-to-back-to-back turnovers, but it was interception by Xavier Howard, then a fumble by Miami, then another interception by Xavier Howard. And unfortunately, the interception didn't lead to anything because the clock ran out at the end of the first half. But that was cool to watch. I don't know how many times that's happened in NFL history. So I guess it was kind of nice to see Tannehill back, actually. He had I actually thought he had a pretty decent game. Like, he didn't give the ball away. He had a decent completion percentage. He had only had 200 yards, but he had a couple touchdowns. I don't think he was why they lost. I thought the defense just totally melted down in the fourth quarter. There were so many busted plays, lots of big gash plays. I don't really know what the plan was supposed to be. I mean, I felt like you guys should have just continued doing what you were doing, which was winning the game, and that would have been fine. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a more up-tempo offense that they went with and they just couldn't keep up with it. Did you have a diagnosis for that?
Yeah, so it was more than just, our defense was pretty bad in the second half because Andrew Luck just carved us out.
Well, it was really, specifically, it was the fourth quarter. I thought the third quarter wasn't that bad. It was really the fourth quarter that was bad.
Yeah, he carved us out, and he's showing like he can be MVP. I mean, imagine the Colts without Andrew Luck, dude. I mean, because he actually is putting up a monster year, and he's not getting enough attention. He actually just tied. So he broke the Colts franchise record, which obviously Peyton Manning owns, for most consecutive games of 3 touchdowns. So the last 8 games, he's had 3 or more touchdowns. So he's tied for Peyton Manning for second. Tom Brady's number 1 at 10 all time. He's on pace for like 45, 46 touchdowns. I think he's had the last 5 or 6 games of completing more than 70% of his passes. So he's playing really well, and I think he might limp this team into the wild card spot, to be honest. This was a big win for them. But yes, with the Dolphins, really, I think it was their conservatism. There were 2 plays in general at the ends. The biggest one, they were like on their own 15-yard line ish. 8 minutes and 13 seconds left. I think it was a 3rd and 10, and they have 6 guys on the line, right? They have tight end, obviously other linemen, and then Drake is right to the right of Tannehill. Only 4 defenders on the line. They're waiting for a pass. Speaking of cutting players, so one, the play was designed to hand it off to Drake with no momentum. He's just right there on his right-hand side, hand it to him. You don't hand the ball off. You don't do a running play on 3rd and 10 in the 4th quarter when the game is close. That's too conservative.
Yeah, you have to get the first down.
Miami has done this too many times, and they did it again later on with like 3 minutes left in the game, which ended up costing them the game. They punted it again, and then Andrew Luck had that ridiculous play where he evaded and threw it for like 30 yards. So they run this play. I want to say 62 of the Dolphins, the left guard, needs to be fired immediately. How do you have 6 guys on the line, 4 guys rushing, and they left a gap in the middle, and you watch it, and number 62, he goes to like block an imaginary defender that's not there, and like turn around, and the guy already ran past him unabated and takes out Kenyon Drake. Now it's like 4th and 13. They got a punt.
I'm really glad he wasn't trying to defend an imaginary defender that was there. That would have been a blow your mind kind of paradox.
Yeah, so just absolutely pathetic, and why that wasn't a pass play, and then also just the protection on that. And then they did it again, like I said, around 3 minutes, I believe, in the 4th quarter. Another 3rd down. Let's run the ball. So I've seen that kind of conservatism from Miami, no matter who the coach is. We've had so many coaches and quarterbacks the past 10 years, and yet I still have seen that. I don't know if the GM, no, I'm sure the GM has changed. Maybe the president or vice president stayed the same, but we've just been really conservative. And it's driving me crazy.
A lot of teams are, though. There's so many teams that really don't know how to do 4-minute offense in the 4th quarter. It's just they don't know how to get that first down.
And they're not gutsy. It's like you have to. This was essentially a must win. This really was a must win for the Dolphins.
It was
to have a wild card contention. So if that's the case and these games are going to be so close, dude, go for it. Like, have integrity, have some courage, and if you can't make it, fine. But don't lose in a cowardly way. Lose in at least an attempt, a bold attempt.
Dude, go for it, bro. Go for it.
Yeah, and they didn't. So
yeah,
I'm stuck with another 7-9, 8-8 season. So let me see. Well, by the way, it was a 52-yarder.
52 yards. So. Okay, that Graham Gano missed. So let's wrap up the Dolphins part by talking about the penalties. So
yeah.
There were 2. I felt like there were 2 that really were garbage. The first one was the Kiko Alonso hit to Andrew Luck's head, where he with his arms backward, where he was like,
where he didn't really hit his head, but
barely
like
hit his head. Like Andrew Luck slid, and he was Alonso was already sliding towards him, and he had his arms behind his back, so he had no way of controlling the momentum of his body, the vector of his body, and tapped Luck's helmet and got a 15-yard penalty. Okay,
well, so that was Alonso had like no momentum, because if you watch the play, the way he turned, dude, he really had like no momentum diving towards Luck. It was all of Luck's momentum that slid into Alonso's shoulder. Yeah, it was pretty funny seeing
Right.
his
They, I
throwing
mean,
his
they were
arms
kind of
back.
sliding perpendicular, but the problem was that, I mean, Alonso was slowing down. He knew he was going to make contact with Luck, so he had his arms in front of him, but then he put them to his side, like behind him, to make it as obvious as he could that
Exactly.
the contact was incidental,
Yeah,
right?
no, it was a
And then
pathetic
it was
call.
still immediate flag just came out, and I mean, at most they were moving like 2 miles an hour when their helmets contacted each other. That's pathetic. I mean, there's got to be ways for guys to get some grace when they can't control the direction of their body and they make contact with a quarterback that can slide at any second.
Yeah, dude, Andrew Luck is bigger than Alonso. Seriously, he's bigger than him. I mean, honestly, I mean, you know how I don't want a quarterback to just be defenseless when they're in the pocket and stuff. I'm okay with those protections, except some of the atrocious calls we've seen with the new rule. But if a guy's going to run, he's a runner. And there's a lot of big athletic quarterbacks. So I say treat him as a runner. And if they want to slide, then that's the same rules. If a running back slides, they can still get decked. So they should get rid of the quarterback sliding rule, because too many quarterbacks are taking advantage of it that are actually good at running and sliding and so forth. And these ridiculous penalties are happening. And
or at least differentiate.
Really,
at least what I want to see is differentiate between late hits and incidental hits.
Yeah,
I feel like if they just did that, obviously that would have alleviated this play on Sunday, and it would alleviate, I think, a lot of plays. I mean, late hits are unacceptable no matter who it is. Like that's pretty uniform, whether it's a quarterback or anybody else. If you come in with a late hit, you're going to get penalized. Right?
But do you think the quarterback should even have the slide rule though? I don't even, at least behind the line of scrimmage, sure, maybe they're trying to avoid a crazy sack, and I don't know. But if they're trying to run and they're gaining yards, and they're
so what I think that a quarterback, I'm okay with the idea of protecting quarterbacks to an extent. Although I think I don't like the reason for it, which is that they want to make money by having healthy quarterbacks for primetime games, but not because they actually care about player safety. But I think that I am okay with some protecting of the quarterback. I'm okay with the slide, but I think that defensive players should still be allowed to tackle quarterbacks that are sliding.
Okay, I can follow that.
And if there's incidental helmet-to-helmet contact that happens because of that, there should not be a flag. It should only be if it's a blatant helmet-to-helmet or a very late hit that you get that personal foul call. The second penalty that I thought was hot trash was that I don't remember who the receiver was for the Colts, but he caught a touchdown in the end zone, and then Xavier Howard like pushed him or kind of shoved him, and he fell down. Do you remember that play? It was kind of towards the end.
No, I don't think that came through the condensed version very well, or I missed that though.
Okay, well, he got called for it. It was basically the receiver caught the touchdown, and then Xavier Howard immediately proceeded to shoulder the guy, and he fell over. And he got an unnecessary roughness call for it. For me, that's unacceptable, because if you catch a ball in the end zone, a defensive player has the right to try to dislodge the ball before it can be considered a completed pass, right? If a receiver catches a ball in the end zone and then half a second later the ball's dislodged, that's not a completed pass. That's not a touchdown. So a defensive player should have the right to do that. And I didn't feel like what he did was super late. It was bang bang, right? Like catch hit.
Yeah.
It wasn't this really late hit. So obviously it was a hit that had attitude, but that shouldn't matter, right? He has the right to it. So anyway, I felt like you guys were on the bad end of two extreme calls. Okay, so let's move on from the Dolphins. We're going to talk about the Niners for a couple minutes, and I don't have a whole lot of things to say that are new, because I think that the overarching issues with the Niners as a team right now have been made abundantly clear throughout this season. Number one, they have major injuries at multiple starting positions, including quarterback, running back, and they have a totally depleted secondary who, even when healthy, isn't very good, but it's right now they have third and fourth string guys out there. They have no pass rush. And when you add those three things together, that is a perfect recipe for losing the vast majority of your games.
Really? Sorry.
So, as always, I'll start with the good, which is Matt Breida. He's a stud. He's a stud. Every game he gets out there, he plays well. He was 14 carries for 106 yards, which is 7.5 yards a carry. He also had 3 catches for 36 yards. By far and away the star on the offense yesterday. Had a lot of great breakout runs. He really knows how to get yards after the line of scrimmage. Or yards after contact. Sorry. Dante Pettis, who was our second round receiver pick this year, had a good game. He usually is the second string to Marquise Goodwin, who was excused for personal reasons this week. He was 4 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. It's really important to see him develop, and it's actually a blessing in disguise, I think. I would have loved to see Marquise playing, but it's a blessing in disguise we got to see Dante, because we need these last few games just have to be all about checking out who's on the roster and who's the future of this team and roster evaluation. And I think he made a step towards proving that he can be on this team. Jeff Wilson, first NFL game, he had 7 carries for 33 yards, which is almost 5 yards a carry. He had some great breakout runs. He seems like he can be a good guy to throw in the mix while we've got multiple key running backs injured. And then Fred Warner, I mean, that guy just gets out there and plays his heart out every single darn week. And he's not a huge guy. For a linebacker, he's actually a little bit skinny, but he gets out there and puts himself on the line, always comes away with many tackles. He's a really solid guy. And I'm going to love to see him grow and progress, and hopefully a star linebacker next year, maybe the year after. But thank goodness we got him in the 3rd round because of the Reuben Foster issue, which we'll get to in a second. But I mean, at the end of the day, this was a terrible game for the O-line. Nick Mullins, who's remember, everybody has to remember, he is a 3rd string quarterback. Okay, the Niners are playing their 3rd string quarterback. And yeah, he didn't have a great day. He had a pretty bad day. But he's the 3rd string quarterback. What can you expect? I guess we're just at the point where we've got 3rd and 4th string guys on the field playing against proven starters on other teams. Yeah, the Bucs have only won 3 games, but they had a lot of starters out there, and they had Jameis Winston, who's still, I think, is still a pretty decent quarterback. He's gotten a lot of heat, but he's still a pretty decent quarterback. So they just had a pathetic effort yesterday, unfortunately against a pathetic team, but it was pathetic for 95% of the team. Even Sherman didn't play well. Kittle didn't play that well. So I don't know if the Reuben Foster situation had much of an impact, but we'll now transition into the news for the week. Unless I'll comment on the Reuben Foster thing real quick, and then Joseph, if you had anything on the game, I'll let you do your shtick. But Reuben Foster was arrested on Saturday night for domestic violence allegations. He was immediately cut by the team because this has been the last straw for them. He's had some incidents in the past with the Niners. He had a lot of trouble in college, and this was just the last straw. He was supposed to be that star up-and-coming linebacker for them, to be part of their core going forward. No longer. He is not with the team. If he passes waivers, he's going to be allowed to be picked up by anybody, although I think there's an impending suspension or probation by the NFL that will be coming soon. But I'm sure a team will scoop him up because he is a talent, although he did regress this year. But he's now no longer a Niner. And I have to believe that someone with his kind of energy, I have to believe that with how poor the Niners played on Sunday, that him being cut had something to do with it. I think when you lose a guy like that, that is, I think, part of the heart and soul of the energy on your defense, that has an impact on performance. Whether coaches admit it or not is one thing, but I think it did have an impact. So before we get into the news, Joseph, did you have any comments on the atrocious performance by my Niners?
Yeah, so I actually think Kittle probably played better than you suspect. He was 6 for 12 with 48 yards. I think that he's just been playing so well that those kind of numbers seem bad, but for tight ends, that's not bad. I think
that's fair.
There were some bad throws and miscues and some great plays by the defense, but he did make some good catches I noticed, and he really strived for some first downs. So, and I think I saw him. I think it was him. He's number 85, right?
Yeah,
might have been him. Maybe. Do you have another tight end that's number 86?
I don't know if we have an 86. I think we have an 88.
Okay, maybe I thought it was Kittle. Maybe I got confused, but I was specifically watching a run play, and the tight end, who I thought was Kittle, did a great job blocking. And I know that we were talking about Kittle the other day, and is he a good run blocker? And you said that he was. And so if that was him that I saw, then I wouldn't be surprised, because you could tell he knows what he's doing. So some positives there, and hopefully people can surround him around they can surround him around a good team to do well. But so Nick Mullins, I believe he has potential. He shows it. He just has the worst pocket presence ever. Right, his pocket presence is really bad. But we're not surprised by that, right? Third string quarterback. He's actually, I didn't realize how undersized he is. He's like an average guy, but he has a decent arm and he's accurate enough. And I think he's showing potential, but not enough to be better than Jimmy G. So I know that we rag on him and we give the caveat to being a third stringer, but though he had a bad presence yesterday, the offensive line did let some guys through. That's some pretty easy sacks. So it's not completely his fault. So hopefully you guys can hang in there, and you might only win one more game, but I think Nick Mullins has a lot to be proud for how he stepped up and came in as a third stringer.
I agree with you. I mean, I think for a third stringer, his performance was okay. And I don't think at any point he's ever being evaluated as a replacement for Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy, when he comes back, is going to be the de facto starter. It's just that, you know, I'm just trying to have everybody in keep everybody in perspective that we're talking about a team that's trotting out a third string quarterback. Obviously, you can't expect greatness. He had that great game against the Raiders, but you can't expect that kind of consistent performance every week. And yes, the O-line was Swiss cheese. Okay, so moving into our news for the week, I just had two things, which is I already talked about the Reuben Foster, and then also that we missed this from talking about it 2 weeks ago because we missed last week's show, that Alex Smith broke his leg.
Can I do this? Can I do this one?
About Alex Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, because I want to talk about the history of it. Those of you who are football fans from years ago and know the history of Lawrence Taylor and how the famous play of Lawrence Taylor of the Giants breaking Joe Theismann's leg. And it was a really gruesome play. It's a famous play, and that changed Theismann's career, even though he did come back after that. So, Alex Smith is now a Redskin. Joe Theismann is in attendance. 33 years later, to the day, another gruesome play, Alex Smith breaks the exact same bones that Joe Theismann broke. How crazy is that? And he's out for the rest of the season. Right when the Redskins are about to probably make a playoff push or at least have some possibility for it. And now those hopes are pretty much gone. So crazy of all the coincidences that lined up there. But sad to see him go. Yeah.
So the question now will be, in 2051, what quarterback will break his leg in the exact same spot in that kind of situation?
With Alex Smith watching the game.
With Alex Smith watching the game, exactly. So I think that the as far as the implications are for the team around the Alex Smith thing is the Redskins, I don't think have a chance now. They were barely holding on as it was, but I don't think without him they can do it. And then you had a thing on Blake Bortles.
Oh yeah, Blake Bortles was benched immediately after they fired I think it was their offensive coordinator, because they've lost now 7 games in a row, which is just crazy to imagine. So, congratulations to the Texans. You've basically wrapped up the division, and woe to you, Jaguars, for playing as well as you did last year with your defense, and yet mediocre Bortles, and now you are 3-8. And one of the laughing stocks of the league. So, yeah, man, they need to start over. They need to get another quarterback. I don't know if their defense was a fluke last year. It's not bad this year, but I don't know just if they're actually that good or they were playing above their potential. But they need to figure out what their path is, because Fournette is a decent running back, young guy, but they have no quarterback right now. And it's not like there's that many great free agency quarterbacks, which we'll get to here in a minute on the list. So,
yeah, they're in a tough. I feel like we could do a whole segment on Jaguars quarterback philosophy and drafting future and all that. So yeah, some kind of rough news this last week, but especially the Reuben Foster thing. For the Niner fans, I think that was a crushing blow. Waking up Sunday morning and reading that news was rough. But I think at the end of the day, when you can't trust somebody, you got to move on from them, and they need to be a good guy, and they need to be a good player. And when you don't have both those things, then you're not going to have a recipe for success. So, I wish him the best. I really hope that his situation gets cleaned up, that he gets the right people to surround him, and that he learns from these mistakes. But I think probably having some time off of football to get those things squared out is the right thing for him. Okay, so moving on to commentators say the darndest things. So my best friend, Booger McFarland. I love saying that name. Every week we get to listen to Booger McFarland and Jason Witten and Ted something. I don't even remember the other guy because he's fine. I guess I don't remember his name because he doesn't say anything stupid. But tonight I just thought this was sort of funny. You're not going to fall out of your chair, but he said the Titans can win only one way: play sound defense, run the football, and allow Mariota to dink and dunk. Is there anything else as a team that you can do? Like you can play good defense, you can run the ball, and you can pass the ball, right? Is there anything else you can do?
Hey man, I don't know how many other quarterbacks can dink and dunk, but maybe it's only Mariota.
Well, him and Brock Osweiler can get together and do that. Okay, so our discussion for tonight is going to be on this fantastic article that Dan Graziano from ESPN wrote called 19 Predictions for 2019. So I have the article in front of me, and we're just going to go through the headlines and kind of talk about each point.
Or one lazy way to have 19 things to talk about that really are dumb.
We'll get there. So the first thing is, the first point is DeMarcus Lawrence, not Dak Prescott, scores the biggest Cowboys contract extension.
All right, I say we rotate. I say let's rotate with reading, and the person who reads goes second on the comment.
Sure,
so
that's
you
fine.
read.
Yeah.
So first of all, it makes sense. Prescott's not going to get it. Second of all, neither of them should get a big extension. Lawrence is decent talent, but what's up with this? Oh, I'm going to have an average or above average year, and now everyone warrants a ridiculous $20 million a year contracts. Like, he thinks he's going to actually get that. So neither of them deserve it. So shame on the Cowboys for even thinking about it.
Okay, but in terms of, he's making a comparative statement, right? So I think
that is true.
Dak Prescott is sort of regressed a little bit, and DeMarcus Lawrence is a really good defensive end. So
If anyone should get the extension, it's Ezekiel Elliott because he's been a stud consistently now for two
I
and a half years.
agree. Although I don't think I think the reason he's bringing that up is I don't think Elliott's up for a contract extension though.
Yeah.
So okay.
All right.
So number 2, you go ahead with number 2.
Yeah. Same Lawrence again. Lawrence will pace the market, but won't be the only pass rusher cashing in.
So that's
And
fine, right? I mean, you've got lots of other guys that are super talented that are going to be cashing in money.
Well, the problem is some of the guys they listed are like average to below average, and they're gonna ride the wave that Clowney and Donald and Mack are gonna make.
Okay. So he lists Jadeveon Clowney, he lists Ziggy Ansah, D Ford, Frank Clark, and Brandon Graham. So yeah, Brandon Graham's not burning any barns down, but
Neither's D Ford,
but not D Ford really. Although he apparently has 8 sacks already this season.
Yeah,
but so Frank Clark is not gonna be at the head of the market. Ziggy Ansah is not going to be at the head of the market. Jadeveon Clowney probably not. I mean, here's the thing. There is definitely a delineation between Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack and Jadeveon Clowney and Ziggy Ansah.
Right? The problem is Mack. Well, besides getting into how all these guys get paid too much money, but Mack and Donald's there's going to be an overreaction for them, right? Like none of those guys, no matter what, should ever get quarterback money, but they're going to get near quarterback money, and then that's just going to artificially raise what Clowney and Ansah and Clark and those guys are going to get. So those guys are all going to get 16 to 21 million, which is just as disgusting as Aaron Donald getting 25 million.
Right. Yeah, it's like the housing bubble, man. Eventually, this is going to have to pop. That's what
makes it crazy. There is no real market in these sports. Like I'm tired of hearing like they drive the market, they're going to raise the market, they're going to do this. Like no, there is no like market value. People just will hold out.
No, there is market value. I mean, if there's a guy that's out there that just negotiated a deal for a certain amount of money and set a precedent, right?
But it's not a precedent when they're not the same value because it happens all the time.
Okay, but sometimes they are relatively close in value though, and then the next guy comes in and says, "Well, I should make at least that much."
But he shouldn't. That 90% of the time he shouldn't.
Okay, but it doesn't matter though because you can argue about the value of the player, but there's still a market there's a market price for a really high value player at a specific position.
Due to the ignorance of the owners who are just maddening, who want to just dish out money. Okay, this just goes into my craziness, my crazy idea of setting up a football team where you pay no one more than $1 million and I guarantee they could win a playoff game because the talent spread, as long as you have a quarterback, I know we're going to dig down the hole here for a second. We'll get out of it later, but as long as you have a quarterback, I bet you could set up a team.
You'll get out of it. I'm not going to help you.
As long as you get the quarterback, I don't buy this whole like only all the talented players are playing in the NFL and the whole the first 3 rounds are only valid and stuff. That's garbage. I guarantee you can find guys who played college or even guys off the streets. Yes, it's happened before and it can happen again. And make a solid team. It's about discipline, intellect, play calling, and creativity
and swagger.
And but with sufficient athleticism, which there are plenty of guys that have that, and the entire payroll could be under 30 million, and they could be better than teams that have payrolls 5 times as much. So it's just absurd. It's artificial. It's no real world market. It's just this. Everything just keeps going up. It's just like baseball. It's sad, but we got to move on.
Okay, you're wrong. Let's move on. No, I think there is a market, but I also agree with what you said about not necessarily needing to draft people in the first 3 rounds, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so point number 3, the defensive line bounty will keep flowing into late April. Basically, the point here is actually not really what the headline says. So the point is just that there's a lot of supposed really good defensive picks in the draft this year, and that, quote, teams are going to be salivating at the prospect of drafting big, fast Big, fast, athletic dudes who can help them scheme ways to stop them, unquote. So that's, I mean, I know this year is not a super strong quarterback year. I think there are a decent number. It's supposed to be a deep defensive end draft, so that's fine. I don't know if I really have a problem with this.
No. All right, number 4, Justin Herbert will stay in school. He's the quarterback for Oregon.
Didn't he already announce that he is? Or I thought.
Well, yeah. Well, when this was written, because this was 2 weeks ago, I think this article was made. So Herbert announced that he's going to be staying for his senior year, I believe. And they reference back to what Andrew Luck did in Stanford in 2011. So, you know what? I mean, Jeremy has a way more negative disposition towards college football than I do, and yet it's not even worth talking about, so we can move on.
You're darn right it's not. Okay, number 5 shouldn't even be on the list. It's only on the list because he had to do 19 for 19. The Broncos are the first team to pick a quarterback in the draft.
That is hogwash for 2 reasons. One, because they're playing better. Now, granted, I think they only had 3 wins when this was written, but they're not even going to be, I think, a top 10 pick anyways. But even if they are, dude, someone is going to pick before them. Someone will. And number 6, though, he's cheating, right? He's cheating. When we get to number 6, you'll see why. So I don't think that's the case. I think at least one team will draft a quarterback before the Broncos.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So number 6, here's why he's cheating.
Not with him, with you.
Wait, you agree with me, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, okay. All right, number 6. Here's why he's cheating, guys. Teddy Bridgewater will sign with the Giants. So we're thinking the Giants would draft instead, but yeah. Go ahead.
So
sorry. Cut you off.
I have no idea what to think of Teddy Bridgewater. That's part of the problem. I feel like he had that one decent season. He had the one season with the Vikings, right? And then he got that injury. He was out for like 2 years, and then he got relegated to a backup position.
Yeah, because Bradford was hot. He was doing well.
Right. So, like, I don't know. I feel like he just isn't somebody that's been fully evaluated. So there's a potential that he could be a good starter, but at the same time, would you want to, if you have a high draft pick and it's a year where not a lot of teams are looking for quarterbacks, if you're the Giants, would you want to risk signing him in lieu of that? I don't know.
No, if I were them, if Manning is willing to be traded, if he doesn't retire, then trade Manning. And though I feel bad for whoever he goes to, but trade Manning and then draft a quarterback, or trade down, right? Keep Manning, trade down, and get more picks out of it. Because, Barkley's playing well. He's probably going to get Rookie of the Year, as their running back. He's a stud. Beckham's playing okay. And, they have enough. I think they have some pieces to build around. It's just the inconsistency of Manning and no defensive superstars. So even though they're a 3-8 team, I feel like they're a little bit better than that. So there's no reason to not draft a quarterback.
Okay. I just wish we see Bridgewater actually get evaluated at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. Le'Veon Bell will sign with the Texans.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm talking about this one. Yeah, so I know.
Yeah, you mean no?
I remember I mentioned the dark horse about that could happen if he went to the Ravens, but this is next in line. So this is great. Hopkins, Thomas, next year Fuller will come back. They have a ton of cap space. Get Le'Veon Bell. Miller's still playing well with them, so they may not even need him, but he could be a backup, and Le'Veon's a good wide receiving running back. This is it, man. And just like they say here, Texans will be next year's Rams. I agree. They could probably be that without Le'Veon, but if they are, let's do it. I like it.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
You don't know that? Okay, my assessment is accurate, and you know it. Come on now. But
I don't know, Jack.
Disagree with that he will.
I don't know, Jack. So here's the thing.
Do you agree that he will sign with them?
Can they afford him though?
No, I think they can. They're just they're going to get hit hard.
They're saying it's a team with a boatload of projected 2019 cap space.
Well, the problem is only
They haven't
are
paid.
going to
Well,
experiment
they
with this
haven't
for like 3
paid
years.
Watson yet, but they won't have to pay him for a couple years.
Or Hopkins. I think Hopkins hasn't gotten his
So
money either.
okay,
So.
here's this. The only situation I would be okay with them signing Bell is on a 1-year deal to try to go breakneck for the Super Bowl next year. I don't think they should try to sign him to any kind of long-term deal.
So I agree with that because they'd rather keep Hopkins, Thomas, and Watson.
They have to.
Well, exactly. And Watt, I think didn't Watt recently get his super deal, but I'm sure he's due for an extension soon. So, in a couple of years. So yeah, I would say you have the future set in Houston. That's fine. This is kind of the high risk, high reward to try to win big next year or in 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The Jets, Buccaneers, Cowboys, Broncos, Packers, Dolphins, Ravens, and Browns hire new head coaches.
So couple caveats. First of all, was this written before the Browns fired Hugh Jackson?
Yes.
Okay.
Or maybe, I'm not sure. It says Ravens and obviously the Browns.
Okay. So I think it's probably I think Hugh Jackson was still coaching. So obviously, I don't think the Browns then, because I think the new guy's doing okay. We'll see how he is. So we'll go in order. I think Jets maybe, Bucks probably, yes. Cowboys I don't know.
Well, it depends now, right? Because now they're
starting to play better
for the division.
Yeah.
They have to win a playoff game. Winning the division is not good enough this year. They have to win a playoff game and play well enough in the second game, or else he will get fired.
Yes, I agree with that. Broncos, I don't think so.
No, I don't think they will either.
Their issue is just the quarterback.
They realize.
Yeah, it's not the coach. But then again, this is not about what we think should happen. It's about what will happen. But I still don't think the Broncos are going to fire their coach.
Yeah.
Packers, I've been hearing a lot of drama there. I guess I wouldn't be shocked, but I kind of don't think that's going to happen. That they're going to fire Mike McCarthy.
Maybe, I don't know. I almost think that he's in the same situation as Harbaugh, where no matter what, he's going to get let go.
Maybe, although we haven't heard anything come out on that like we did for the Ravens. So the Dolphins, I don't know if it's a coaching issue, really.
Well, no, that's true, but that's different than the assessment of if they're going to fire him or not.
So I think it kind of depends where you guys land. If you guys end up worse than 8-8, I think you guys will fire him.
Which we will. I looked at their record, their schedule. They still have to play the Patriots and the Vikings.
Okay.
So that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, Dan Graziano, the guy who wrote this, seems to think that the Dolphins will go after Jim Harbaugh from Michigan.
No, Jim will not leave Michigan.
Try to come back into the NFL.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, well. Dan Graziano's right about everything, man. So, okay, number 9, Josh McDaniels will get at least one head coaching interview but won't take a new job.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 10.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston returns to the Bucs on a short-term extension.
So, I just don't buy into the Bucs thinking that they have a long-term starter in Fitzpatrick, despite the fact that he's had his Fitzmagic stupidness and the touchdowns and all that, the passing yards.
But he's done, though. Like, they got rid of him after, because Winston started this game.
Well, they didn't get rid of him, though.
Well, no, I mean, like,
they've basically been doing musical chairs.
Yeah.
I think Winston still has promise. I don't know if he's not a up-and-coming superstar, but he's a solid starter. I don't think they're... I think the situation with them is they need to try to build more pieces and keep that position stable. So I don't know what they're paying Fitzpatrick right now or when his deal's up, but I don't see this being I guess a short-term extension. What's short-term? 2 years?
Probably. Though they're not going to want to pay him what they're paying him now, so they're probably going to offer him less, and it's up to him if he thinks he deserves more and go somewhere else, or if he'll take less for an extension. I think
What if
it's
he went to
best.
the Jags?
Well, that's a whole lot better than what this guy has to say later on. So I actually do think that would be a decent idea. But then what do the Bucks do? Do they keep rolling with Fitzpatrick?
Maybe they
That's
keep
not a good idea.
Fitzpatrick and draft somebody. I don't know.
Sure, but yeah,
They'll have a chance to draft a quarterback this year if they want to. I just don't think that they would.
no, I don't think they should either. I think it's okay to keep Winston for 2 more years. So
All right, number 11, the safety market bounces back with Earl Thomas at the top.
I do agree with this, and I'm actually kind of excited to see who'll pick Earl Thomas up. He's still playing at an elite level, and I don't think
At a Joe Flacco level?
Joe Flacco, is he elite?
Is he elite?
If the elite extends to number 20, then I guess. So, this will be interesting because he's going to get a huge deal. I think he's getting like 5 years, probably 80 to 100 million, and he'll probably want to go to a contender. I doubt he'll want to stay with the Seahawks, man.
Oh no, he's done with the Seahawks.
Yeah, he's
sure.
done. The question is where. So I think a good fit. See, here's the thing. He can either want to go to the Saints if Brees comes back for like a quick 2-year stint, or if he wants to get paid big, he could go to like the Chiefs could use some help, and they got the young talent. I think the Chiefs would be good because the AFC is not as stacked. The NFC is loaded. So him getting out of there and going to the top AFC team, especially while Brady's going to be retiring soon, and he's set up now with a running back and a tight end and 2 good wide receivers and a quarterback for the next 8 years. Dude, sign like a 6-year huge contract with the Chiefs, and he's set.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Chiefs going hard for him. They list the Chargers here, which I think is an interesting.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't even see they put the Chiefs here. I just kind of
they say they put they listed the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Chargers,
Bucks. They don't have enough money though.
I don't think he'll go to the Bucks.
No, even if they have the money, it doesn't matter. I mean, I feel like other teams that are contenders, even if they don't offer him as much, it'll be close enough to where we'll say, yeah, I'd rather win and make $2 million less. The Chargers, though, I don't know if they have enough to offer, man, because they're in the Chiefs division, and Phillip Rivers is going to be on his way out in a few years. So if I'm him, I just go to the Chiefs, and I'm sure they'll pay him because Mahomes and Hunt and I think Watkins and Hill, they're not on mega contracts yet. So now's his chance to get his money. And
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jeers. Oh, here we go. We brought this up yesterday. Jeers turned to cheers for John Gruden after the draft. So let me just pick off the. So he has 3 first-round picks next year and 2 in 2020. So Jeremy, what do you think? Will they turn from jeers to cheers?
John Gruden, is he an elite drafter? That's the thing is I don't know if he's an elite drafter or not. I have no idea. I guess I don't. I mean, the thing is, here's the thing. He has the picks to turn the team around. Will he be able to land the right guys? I have no idea. I don't know what his acumen is.
Okay. Well, more importantly, will he keep Derek Carr?
I'm not sold that he will, but I think that he may keep him one more year just to get stability, to keep stability while he builds up other pieces.
Okay. Go ahead, next one.
All right. The next one that none of us care about is number 13. The Seattle Seahawks sell for more money than any sports team ever.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, don't care about it.
Nobody cares.
We've talked about Seattle too much now. Moving on.
$2.6 billion. Okay.
Which is 2.5 too much. Marshawn Lynch, Antonio Gates, and Larry Fitzgerald announced their retirement. with the caveat that Frank Gore and Julius Peppers sign new deals.
Because they're still both 20 years old.
Yeah. Go ahead. What do you think?
So Marshawn Lynch, yes. Antonio Gates is... I think Antonio Gates and Larry Fitzgerald are both in like the 60 to 65% yes category.
So, okay. So Marshawn Lynch is a yes. I think Antonio Gates is more like in the 45%. I think Larry Fitzgerald is in the 80s. It is contingent on if he's willing to play for another team. It seems like that he's only willing to play for the Cardinals, and he's okay with that. If he is willing to play for another team, go to the Saints for 1 year.
Okay, everybody can't just go to the Saints, dude.
I'm not saying they can't.
Every one of these good players, Earl Thomas, go to the Saints. Larry Fitzgerald, go. They have enough good players right now. Like they don't need...
I'm not saying everyone can go to the Saints. I'm saying they can get at least one of these guys. No, Earl Thomas will go to the Chiefs. I already cleared that up. So no, Fitzgerald, get his Super Bowl ring with Drew Brees. Drew Brees retires as a 3-time champion next year because he's going to win this year as well. And he retires. Larry gets his one. It's over. But if he's not, but all jokes aside, if he's not willing to retire or to go to a different team, he will most likely retire this year. And then Peppers will play as long as he wants, but he's not playing at an elite level. He's not playing at even a Frank Gore level. So that's just kind of yeah. Oh, great.
Okay, so the league announced number 15. The league announces multiple international games featuring the Raiders.
Well, who cares who they feature? This just really bothers me. I'm
the
really
international
bothered.
Games.
Yeah. It's unfair to many teams, and I know for years the Bucks, because one of the Bucks owners I think was from Europe or has investments there or whatever. It's just not fair.
No, it was wasn't it Jacksonville?
No, it was Jackson. No, I'm sorry, not the Bucks.
It was Jacksonville. It played all those London games.
Yeah, it was a Florida team. So this is just completely unfair. And you know what? If you want to grow football in other countries, fine. Start other leagues, and then they can play the NFL in America.
Yeah, this is hot garbage to me.
But playing,
I don't.
Yeah,
no.
Playing the NFL in other countries, no. Stop it, guys.
His one piece of logic for this was that the Vegas stadium won't be ready until I think 2020. So
what is this, like a mini farewell for the Raiders? Let's just play them around.
I don't know.
Europe?
It's dumb though. It's dumb. But I could see it again, this is another thing between what we think should happen versus what will happen. I think we're moving more and more towards international games, even though both you and I disagree with that.
Oh, here we go, man. These next two are great. Eli Manning ends up in Jacksonville.
So if that happens, Jacksonville is the dumbest team on the planet. Next. Like,
all right,
that's terrible.
Give me. Hey, it's set out, man.
17. ... And Joe Flacco in Miami.
If Miami takes Joe Flacco, they're the second dumbest team in the league. Oh my gosh. We need to get rid of Tannehill, regardless of how he plays the next 5 games. And if we take Joe Flacco, I'm on strike until he leaves.
I'm sorry, but if Flacco is bad enough to be replaced by Lamar Jackson, then Miami has no business picking him up.
Yeah.
Just no.
Drew Brees and Tom Brady announced they return for 2019.
I think that's highly likely. I think so. Okay, so I think Brees absolutely, because he's super healthy still and is playing at a super high level. I think we've both seen some slight regression in Brady, and so I think he's really dependent on whether or not they win a Super Bowl. I think if Brady wins a Super Bowl this year, which I think is unlikely, but if he does, I think he'll retire. If he doesn't, I could maybe see him out there for one more year, but I think 2019 would be his last year.
I agree with that.
Okay, and our final one, 19, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, and Jared Goff get huge quarterback contract extensions.
Oh, I got some comments on this. Okay, we'll get to the should and the will. So we'll get to the will first. So Russell Wilson will get one, and he should. Jared Goff will get one, and he should. Marcus Mariota probably will get one, and in no way on this earth should he get one. And that'll ruin the Titans because you're just going to lock up all that money for one player that does not deserve it. And good luck. You're now going to be behind the Texans and the Colts for the next 6 years. So that's all my thoughts on that.
Graziano thinks that Wilson is going to surpass Aaron Rodgers and become the league's highest paid quarterback.
He may, but that's also dumb. I mean,
it's dumb, but I agree that he probably will be.
Yeah, but Goff will get a fair share as well. Goff will probably finish 3rd or 4th in quarterback pay.
Yeah, and I honestly think Goff is the most deserving of those 3.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our 19 predictions for 2019. So moving on to our final segment as we wrap up is going to be our predictions for the week. So we missed last week's show. So Joseph and I both made our picks and weren't able to share them with you guys. And so our total records, as of including last week and this week, the whole season up to this point, I'm at 110, 65, and 2, which is a 63% accuracy. And Joseph is 108, 67, and 2, which is a 62%. So Joseph's 2 games back. This week, I'm 11 and 4, and Joseph is 10 and 5. Joseph picked the Packers over the Vikings. So our predictions for this week. So
which I'm never doing again.
What?
Which I'm never doing again.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start us off with Saints at Cowboys. I'm picking Saints.
Same.
Okay. Next one is Ravens at Falcons.
Falcons.
Same. Although that's a weird one.
Yeah.
Bills at Dolphins. I'm going Dolphins.
Same.
Bears at Giants.
Bears, but I don't feel good about this one.
I agree. Broncos at Bengals. I'm going Broncos.
Same, and I feel even worse about this game.
Yeah. Browns at Texans.
Texans.
Yep. Rams at Lions. I'm going Rams.
Same.
Cardinals at Packers.
Packers.
Same. Colts at Jags. I'm going Jags this week. I know you're probably going Colts, right?
Yeah, especially after yesterday's game.
Yeah, I'm still a believer.
Do you? Okay, I don't think it's a terrible pick, but
you don't think the Colts here's the thing about that. I'm not still a believer that they're gonna win the rest of their games or anything, but I think that they're due for a win and they're playing at home. That's how I see it.
Fine. All right.
Okay. Panthers at Bucks.
So I really don't like this game because the Panthers are on the road and I'm going with Panthers, but I don't like it.
I'm going with Panthers too.
But do you like it?
Not really. Jets at Titans.
Yours.
I'm going Titans.
Same.
Chiefs at Raiders.
All right, I'm just kidding. Chiefs.
Same. Vikings at Patriots.
Patriots.
Patriots, yep. Niners at Seahawks.
Go ahead.
Seahawks. And Chargers at Steelers.
Chargers.
Oh, okay. I'm picking Steelers. I don't feel super great about this one, though.
Yeah, this was a 50-50 for me, and I really wanted to go Steelers, but I was like, you know what? Rivers had a great game, and Steelers couldn't win on the road, and, yeah, it's close.
So we differ on that one. Redskins at Eagles. I'm going Eagles.
Same.
Okay.
So how many did we differ on, and which ones were they?
So we differed on 2. We differed on Colts at Jags and Chargers at Steelers.
Okay.
So
and game of the week.
Yeah, and this is 16 games, so there's no buys for the rest of the season. My game of the week, I'm voting for Vikings at Patriots.
That's mine as well.
Okay. The second obvious runner-up was Chargers at Steelers.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go watch Vikings and Patriots with us next week. Which I think is that's just gonna probably be a 10 a.m. start on Sunday. Okay, so I think that is a wrap. If you enjoyed tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. I typically upload on Tuesday evenings, the day after we go live. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.